All right, this is a, of course, tomorrow we won't have any class because it's a holiday, but we will have a class on Tuesday, so we can continue on this. So let's at least begin. Here is a summary. Let's learn the summary. When the Torah was given, this is a speech which was given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1991, Yud Beit Sivan, 1991. When the Torah was given, there was given also all of the aspects of the Torah that are going to be revealed in the future. That's the Torah Shel Mashiach, that's the Torah of the Mashiach. That the Mashiach will learn this Torah with all the people. Because Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, this was only happened once. And it will never be again, giving of the Torah. What happened, the giving of the Torah? The God revealed himself on Mount Sinai before at least 3 million Jews that he had just taken out of Egypt 50 days earlier and provided for them manna in the desert and water from a rock miraculously and split for them the sea. And now the whole purpose was to receive the Torah, to learn how to serve God, and then to go to the land of Israel and to make the world a perfect place. So it says, in this Torah that God gave to the Jewish people, which came from God's essence, there's also the Torah which is going to be in the future. We talked about that last week. The Torah which is going to be in the future, which means it's going to be the same Torah, but there's going to be just a new depth and a new meaning and love revealed in all the commandments. The commandments will still exist, but Mashiach will reveal a whole new intimate awareness. We'll talk about what that is. Elo she'enyanim elu heim behelim. It says the Torah of the Mashiach is concealed in the Torah that was given in Mount Sinai, but it was in a way it was concealed. Ad kedei kach, to the degree shitgalutam la'atid, that the revelation in the future, he bebechinas Torah chadasha, it'll be even like called a new Torah. She'eina yochol litgalot, that can't be revealed back then by the Torah, and it hasn't been revealed all these 3,300 years. Only God himself will reveal it. It's going to come from me. We talked about this land. This is something which will be completely uncomparable to the Torah that is revealed to us now by means of those who receive the Torah. It'll be a totally different Torah. One novelty of the Torah in the future is it won't be, they say, susceptible. Susceptible. You won't be able to twist it and to change it and to misinterpret it or deny it. We see that Christianity twisted every single sentence of the Torah in the most hideous ways to justify idolatry and not doing the commandments and to destroy the Jewish people and intermarriage and all that. And Islam says that the Torah doesn't exist anymore, that the Jews lost it. Well, in the future, and that's the Torah that we have now. In other words, it's open to misinterpretation. You can think that it's just like a book, like any other book. It's like something in the library. You can interpret it this way, interpret it that way, or you can, maybe it got lost in the course of time. So it'll be impossible to do so because everyone will see that the same God, everyone will see that the same God that's creating us, and just like we really exist, here we are. You wake up in the morning, it's not like your eyes are all of a sudden where your nose is and your ears where you just happen to lose your teeth or something, right? You can't just suddenly, the Torah will be like we are, right? And unchangeable, but even more so. Says Kamai result, like the rabbi say, Torah's Adam Lamed Ba'olam Hazeh, the Torah that we learn now is like hevel, it's just like wind, lifnei Torah, if you compare it to the Torah of the Mashiach. Now let's explain this. Okay, with the help of God, b'seita d'shmaya, with the help of God. Sheyochalim shaychuto shel Yom Shabbat Kodesh. This is one thing that I sort of have, but this usually in the Maimonim, at least, they always starts off with b'seita d'shmaya, with help of God. For some reason, they didn't print it over here. I don't know why they didn't. Let's see. Maybe they don't have it in Likutei Sichos. No, maybe in Likutei Sichos is not there. Okay. In any case, we'll say it. With the help of God. The Shaychuto Shel Yom Shabbat Kodesh, the connection between this. Now, this was said the Shabbat after Shavuot. But we're going to continue learning this on Tuesday. We'll continue learning this. This Shabbat, the Shabbat after the giving of the Torah. Good. First of all, it's the first of the Shabbat that's after the giving of the Torah, which this adds something to the Torah. Like it says, Vayechulu Hashamayim V'Oretz. Vayechulu means completed. Ubefrat, and especially the day of Shabbat, which comes after the holiday of Shavuot, after the giving of the Torah, is in the 2 days of the Tashlumim. Is in the days of the Tashlumim. There is what's called 7 days. 7 days after Shavuot, they used to bring the sacrifices that they didn't bring before. Person that didn't, 7 days. So therefore, it's considered to be part of the holiday. That's what we don't say Tachnum for the 7 days after Shavuot. Tashlumim gam b'lashon shlemut. Also the language of shlemut, the Zman Matan Torah. In other words, this the Shabbat that comes after the holiday of Shavuot, this completes the idea of the Torah. What's so special? Hadgashi Yatera, especially in this year, that the day of Matan Torah falls on the Yom Rishon Shavuot. This year it falls on the second day of the week. And the Shabbat comes afterwards is Yud Beit Sivan. By us, it's going to be Yud Gimel Sivan. It's going to be, Yud Aleph, right? Just 1 second, 1 minute. It's right. It's going to be Yud Beit. That's right. No. I got the wrong, sorry. Wrong page. Yud Aleph. It'll be Yud Aleph. Since the completion of, and everything goes after the end, right? Yamei Tashlumim Chal B'Yom Shabbos. But everything goes after the end. Everybody knows that. You can have a thing that's like a movie or whatever. There's a lot of trouble. All of a sudden, the end, everything is happy. Oh, it's a happy movie. Nasa bo ilui v'shlemus d'zman man Torah. If so, the Shabbat after the giving of the Torah, that gives a completion to the whole idea of what is the Torah. It's very important here to remind ourselves that Judaism, even though we stress the idea of the oneness of God and God is one, and that everything is one, and that there's hello? Yeah, I'll just turn off. There we go. Let's just turn this off here. What's going on over here? Everybody is muted. Okay. All right. So Judaism, in Judaism, it's always different. Everything is different. The days of the week are different, and every single person is different. And the commandments are different. And what's demanded, the different lands are different. Time zones, very important. When Shabbat comes in, or what comes in when it comes over there. The difference between different ages and age groups. A person before his bar mitzvah and after bar mitzvah. This is the holiness of God. This is the holiness. It's called a living Torah. Just like a human being is alive, when everything in his body is different. Everything is different. The eyes are different than the nose. Every corpuscle and every whatever it is. The nerve is in a different place and it does a different job. That's what's called alive. So that's what the Jewish people are. And everything is special. Everything is special. And Judaism, especially because there's this idea of time. So everything in time, even though the God is one, but everything in time increases something on what was before it. It's a little bit more reality than there was yesterday. or a second ago. Because God unfolds things. That's what God does. So if so, there's the same idea of time, the different holidays. So that's especially relevant to this Torah portion that we're learning this week. This week, right? Parshas Naso. Parshas Naso, it starts off to lift up, to count the tribe of Gershon, it says. But the whole parsha is called Naso, to lift up. Naso et Rosh, she'ikar shlemut ha'inyan de Nasiat Rosh. The main thing of elevating the head, the consciousness, in the service of every human being is by means of learning Torah. Here we're talking especially about the Jews. A non-Jew is not supposed to learn the Torah as a commandment. He's supposed to learn the Torah just to know what he's supposed to do. Right? But to learn the Torah as just a commandment of learning the Torah. The Jews have a commandment to learn the Torah, even laws that are totally impractical. Nevertheless, you should all these little details and the arguments between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel and what Beit Shammai says, and even though it's not the law is not like Beit Shammai, it's a commandment to learn all these seemingly meaningless arguments in the Talmud. So learning Torah, though, believe it or not, this really elevates the Jewish people. Below, not only that, by means of this, it elevates the whole entire, not just your head, your consciousness, but your whole entire being. Also, your service of God in the world, whether doing the commandments, whether doing optional things, going to sleep, waking up, eating a meal. The kol masecha dem shamayim, that everything that you do will be for the sake of God. And even a deeper way, everything that you do, we will be connected to God. By means of the Torah, it gets elevated, and by means of the Shabbat, after the giving of the Torah, it's elevated even more. So we can say that this is what is hinted at by this week's Torah portion, which says, Nasai et Rosh B'nei Gershon Gam Hem. That's how this week's Torah portion starts off. Count, elevate. In this case, Nasa means to count, but it also means to elevate, to a point. Nasa et Rosh B'nei Gershon Gam Hem, Kamoshet Siviticha, like I commanded, just like I commanded you to do with B'nei Kahat. That was last week. Remember at the end of Bamidbar, it talks about the people, the tribe of Kahat, how they take the vessels in the Holy of Holies. Sha'al Yedei Anasias Rosh the B'nei Kahat, that by means of the counting and appointing the family of Kahat, right? One of the three families of the Levites. There was Kahat, Gershon, and Merari. And the Kahat, that we explained last week, what their job was. They take the ark, the holy ark, and they carry it. How they carry it, they have to cover it up first, and so they shouldn't see it. And this week we're going to describe what Gershon does. They take all the drapes and things like that. And Merari, they take the boards. Last week we talked about Kahat, that they take the ark. This is the idea of learning the Torah. What was in the ark was the Torah, tablets and the Torah also, according to some people. Nasi, this is also made an elevation of the tribe of Gershon. That's this week. That the tribe of Gershon, they take the drapes that surrounded the whole entire holy temple, and that divided between one layer and the other, one room and the other. Shekashur im shar inyani avoda kol biruri olam, including all the things of the world. I mean, Alder is similarly Nurgeshes, the whole connection between Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, and Pirkei Avot, that we learn in the Shabbat after Matan Torah. Now, we in Chabad, we have a custom that we learn Pirkei Avot, the chapters of the fathers, and there's 6 chapters of advice, holy advice, given by the holy rabbis, the ones who wrote in the Mishnah and in the Talmud. Amazing advice on life and how to serve God better. And some people learn it only until in the 6 weeks, until from Passover until Shavuot. But there's a lot of Jews that learn, in Chabad also they learn until Rosh Hashanah. So the first Shabbat after the giving of the Torah, we learn Pirkei Avot B'Yom Shabbat after Matan Torah. Nosaf al Limud Masechet Avot, in addition to learning Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers between Passover and Atzeret. This is also a preparation for the giving of the Torah. But also we learn Pirkei Avot on the Shabbat, which is after. Why? Because this Totza'ah Mizaman, this is what the result of the giving of the Torah. Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai. What's the first of the Mishnayot that we learn? Moses received the Torah from Mount Sinai and he gave it to Yeshua. And he says, what was the advice? Make a lot of pupils. Ha'amidu talmidim harbe. Don't keep the Torah to yourself. Go and look for people that you can teach the Torah. This means giving the Torah and teaching it to every single Jew for all of the generations. U'b'hemshech haperek until siyumo v'chosmo mudgeshes gam ha'pu'ula the Kabbalah v'limud Torah gam b'nogea la'avoda the birur olam. And also, not just learning the Torah and being good, holy Jews, but also the world. Like it says, Al Shlosha Devarim Olam Omed. On three things, the world stands. Right? The Jews are here in order. That's the purpose of the Jews, to make the world, like we said many, many times, a holy and a blessed and a meaningful and a productive and a peaceful and a harmonious and a happy place. The key to that is the Torah. Who would ever dream? But that's what it is. I mean, after all, the creator of the universe, he gave the Torah to the Jews. There's no other religion or philosophy or nation or whatever that even claims such a thing. So this is the instructions of the whole entire world. The three things that the world stands on is on Torah, on the Torah, and on serving God. This is the temple, the sacrifices, and on giving acts of kindness. On the three things the world stands, and on three things the world exists. It says on the din al emet v'al, that's in the end of the first chapter. It says that on the law, on truth, and on peace. Because for this we can understand that from the time of the giving of the Torah. And the days which come after the giving of the Torah, until this coming Shabbat, Sha'az mitchadesh, then there is renewed Torah, that every year comes back and is renewed. The holiday is not just remembering what was. The holiday is being aware of what is. The giving of the Torah was an eternal thing. And the time that it's easiest to tune into this is on the holiday that celebrates giving of the Torah, because it's on the exact same date. And that date itself is holy. God didn't just arbitrarily give it on this date. He gave it intentionally. The date itself is holy. We learned before the third month and the sixth day. But every year it's renewed, but it's added. Often it's increased. Hosafa mishana d'shana. There's an addition from every year. Therefore, it has to be by every single Jew. Hitchadshut. Vosafa in all matters of Torah and the commandments. And this, by the way, is the whole secret of the raising of the dead. Because most people say, the raising of the dead. Who needs that? Raising of the dead. So you're going to get 100 years old, and you'll be 200 years old, and you'll be 1,000 years old, and you'll be 1,000,000 years old. Who needs it? Right? Who needs it? I mean, nobody wants to die, that's for sure. But so, when we're asleep, you take care of it, God. I don't want to look. But who wants to live to 1,000,000 years old? It's the most boring thing in the world, right? So he says, not. Every day is not only new, but every day adds something new that wasn't there before. Every day becomes a total new, brand new experience. It's just like today I was born. Therefore, there has to be constantly a renewal of Torah. What's this? Why can't I get rid of this thing? Avec. Can't get away with it. Oh. Doesn't want to leave. Huh? Get out of here. Can't get out of. Can't get rid of this. Okay, here we go. There has to be a novelty, a renewal in the. There has to be a renewal in the Torah. Sometimes these things pop up, and if you press the wrong button, then you're finished. I won't. It just wrecked the whole entire machine. Okay. The three of the Torah, then on them the world stands. Like it says, it says in the third month, the third month, we see there's three things the world stands on. This has to be, all these three things have to be renewed. Not just renewed, it's not the right word. They have to be, what do you want to call it? There must be a better way. Renewed means that you renew your permit or something like this. They have to be, there must be a better way, the better word than this. They have to be made fresh, brand new, hitchadshut, reinvented. I don't know how to say it. I'll think of the word. In other words, it has to be an increase, a new increase all the time. How can you increase? What you main way you can always make new is in quality. Quality. Right? It's not every day you have to bring more flowers to your wife, until the house is filled with flowers. Bring it with more genuineness. Add another good word, another good thought, another good action. Sometimes thoughts are even more important. There has to be a new appreciation, a deeper appreciation. By means of this, by means of this, the world becomes brand new and interesting, alive. Bizman, in the time, like now in our holiday that we're going to have tonight, Matan Torah, like the rabbis say, that's what Year of Shakata says, the world was afraid and it became quiet. In the beginning, the world was afraid, and in the end, the world became quiet. Before the Torah was given, that God, when He created the world, He said if the Jews received the Torah was given like 2,488 years after the world was created. The Torah says if the Jews receive the Torah, then I'll keep you going. If the Jews don't receive the Torah, then even retroactively there won't be any world. I'll start over again. And what does it mean? That's what it says in the third month. Before Rashi says it didn't really have to start the Torah with this giving, with Breshit. What does it mean on this day? Says the Torah should be. I'm sorry. I jumped. Why does it say bayom hazeh? It says on the third month. On that day, the Jews went into the desert of Sinai. Why does it say on that day? Because if you look, it doesn't say on that day. It should have said on that day. It says on the third month, on this day. Why didn't it say on that day? That's grammatically correct. On the third month, on that day, they came. What does it mean this day? So what does it mean this day? It means that this day means that the words of Torah should always be brand new, like this day, as though they were given today. The explanation is like this. Anything which is true, and especially this fact of the giving of the Torah, that every day it's given anew, Al Yedei Kodesh Baruch Hu, by God. Maybe we don't feel it. We don't feel it. When the Torah was given back then, their bodies jumped out of Souls jumped out of their bodies. Everybody was shaking. But the fact of the matter is that it's happening right now. That way we don't feel it is a big blessing, because back then they couldn't take it. The fact that the Torah is being given brand new all the time, like we say in our blessing, notain a Torah, God gives the Torah. You get called up to the Torah. We call notain a Torah. We say God gives the Torah. He is giving now the Torah. Lashon hove, present. Like it says, like just like the world is being created brand new. Do you feel it? No. You're being created. I am being created every second brand new. Do we feel it? Don't feel it. Like it says in Mechadish B'tuv V'chol Yom Tamid My separations, that God is creating us brand new every instant. Alachat Kama V'cham, much more so. Menogei L'itchadshut Netinat Torah. The idea that the Torah is brand new all the time. Because the Torah is not just a book, it's God's. And God is eternal. So the Torah is eternal. But because it's part of the world, so we don't feel it, just like we don't feel that the world is being created, that I'm being created. Since the world comes through the Torah, like the rabbis say, God looked in the Torah and he created the world, so it has to be the beginning of the renewal of the world, that the world becomes interesting and alive, has to come through the Torah. And by means of this, there is a creation in there is a renewal in the creation. This entire idea that the Torah is brand new, constantly, all the time, this is made, the power to do this is made in this holiday. And from this, is drawn a individual renewal every day, just like the creation. On Rosh Hashanah, there is made a general renewal for the whole entire year. And from this is drawn a renewal into every single day. Let's just do, here we go. From this we can understand the newness that the Torah should be all the time. I made this little clip, maybe you can see it. I sent it out last time. That there's nothing like the Torah in the world. There's nothing like the Torah. Nothing. The Torah is the oldest, possibly the oldest artifact in the world, and it's meaningful, and people learn and they pass it down. But the fact of the matter is that it's true. There's nothing like the Torah. Nobody even claims to have anything like the Torah. Every letter is exact, and it's passed down. People gave their lives for the Torah. But the thing is that people will get used to it. They look at the Torah like it's anything else from the world, like they say, Alta Zache. We have to look at the Torah brand new all the time. How can this be? We're going to talk about this in the course, but the words of Torah have to be brand new as though they were given today. Learning Torah has to be with life and tainuk, pleasure. It shouldn't be like an old letter, but it should be like it's something like a new decree that everyone is running to get it. That the power to actually do this, because we don't do it by anything else in the world. Nothing in the world do we look at brand new all the time. It has to be brand new, right? People have changed their cellular phones like 5 times a year. You get, PXM 37, PXM 39. I got PXMZ 46. Why is it? If it's not brand new, so you get tired of it. Or you just don't care. I have the old one, I don't care. That your cellular phone should be brand new every single second. How could you do that? Says, let's think about it 1 second. Cellular, it's really quite amazing, right? You can stand there and you can talk. Somebody far away, and you don't have to run to a telephone booth. And if every second you really appreciate this, then it becomes, you appreciate. But nevertheless, it's still not brand new. Here we're talking about the Torah reveals godliness, and the new awareness of Hashem is something brand new. This is this in life that we have a new power and a new life and a new pleasure in the Torah. This was given, the power to do this was given to us in the time of Matan Torah. And that was given at the Torah, not just the book, but also the life in the book and the godliness in the book and the renewal, that it should be brand new constantly, always in our eyes, just like our own life is brand new inside of us, if we appreciate it. And that's the whole miracle of this holiday that we're going to have of Matan Torah. And now let's just do the Yom Yom for today. It says on the day of Shavuot, the Alter Rebbe said, there's a pasuk in the Torah that says, "Hitkadashtem hayom u'machar." You should make today and tomorrow holy. Hitkadashtem hayom u'machar. This that you should make holy today and tomorrow. That God does. But it says v'chipsu simlotechem. It says simlotam. It says that they should wash their garments. Thus, darf menaline. This you have to do yourself. In other words, a person just can fix up his thought, speech, and action as much as he can, his attitude. But that God gives us a new soul, and that God gives us holiness. This is God's business. Holiness does not come from us. We have to make the vessel. Thus is given the ganze Torah. This is what the Alter Rebbe said. Make today and tomorrow holy. This comes from God. Wash your garments. This comes from us. The Tzemach Tzedek explained, Ukadashtem is gesagt geworden to Moshe, making yourself holy. This is what God does. This was said to Moshe. Espashtusa the Moshe, and the representative of Moshe in every generation. Was they kennen heilig machen, which they have the ability to make holy everyone. But you have to be a receptacle for this. You have to wash your garments. Simultechem. Levushim machshav, you have to clean off your thought, speech, and action. Was does darvment, this you have to do alone, that the Rebbe cannot do this for you. Let's do tomorrow's. I never remember which direction is which. Here we go. Let's try it. Tomorrow. No, wrong direction. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. Here we go. The Baal Shem Tov passed away on the first day of Shavuot, and he's buried in the city of Mezibus. The Alter Rebbe said the 20th day of Kislev, on the fourth day, because he passed away on a Wednesday, says fourth day God put out the lights. He put out means that he hung the lights, but you can also say he put them out. He took away the Baal Shem. The Rebbe has a mimer, and I'll just say this very quickly, that on Shavuot, the holiday of Shavuot, King David passed away, and the Baal Shem Tov passed away. And he says that we have to say that Moses also passed away because all the Jewish people, their souls jumped out of their bodies, and we must say that it happened to Moses also, that his soul jumped out of it. That's what he says in a mimer. Nevertheless, these 3 days, in any case, the Baal Shem Tov, that corresponds to Chitat. Baal Shem Tov is Tanya. That's the source of the Tanya. King David is Tehillim, Psalms. And Moses is the Torah. So that's Chitat. Chumash, Torah, Tehillim. Chumash, Tehillim, Tanya. Sorry. Those 3 things, we should make a special effort to renew our obligation and our interest to do every day, no matter what. To do the portion of the Torah with Rashi, to say the portion of Psalms, and the portion of Tanya, as much as we can understand. And by means of that, we elevate the souls of Moshe, Baal Shem Tov, and David HaMelech, that Shavuot is their day. Have a good day. Happy holiday. Chag Sameach. We'll be together on Tuesday. Shalom Uvracha. With Moshiach now.